He told me to behave appropriately, like I was a stain he could wipe off the counter. 5 minutes later, he was staring at a pair of handcuffs on his own conference table. If you've ever been told to know your place, you'll understand why I hit record and refused to blink. My name is Maya, and the day this really started was a Monday that looked like every other Monday at the Whitaker mansion. Lemon cleaner in the air glass everywhere, quiet like money. My sitter was sick, so my toddler Theo sat on the kitchen tile with 2 plastic cups tapping a rhythm he thought he invented. Graham Whitaker pointed at him like a judge. "This is a home, not a daycare. You bring him again, you're gone." I said it won't happen again because rent is due when rent is due, you know what I mean. He straightened his cufflinks like the world was back in order and walked off. People see a uniform and decide the rest. Small life, small voice. But before I ever learned the right spray for stone counters, I learned how money moves and lies. I used to work risk at a mid-size firm downtown. I flagged a client for hiding debt. Next thing I knew, I wasn't a good fit, and my family photos were in a box. Doors close like slaps, sometimes like whispers. Graham preferred whispers. He'd stand by a leather chair and say, "Careful, that costs more than your car." He'd float lines at dinner like it's hard to get real commitment from some folks. And everyone would do that polite laugh people do when they're scared to look mean. He told a visiting investor that diversity rules forced him to compromise on hiring, while I poured wine like a lamp with hands. Something settled in my chest, then, not anger exactly. A decision. That night I put Theo to bed, opened my old laptop at our tiny kitchen table and typed, "Whitaker Development Harbor City Contracts." Project summaries popped up first, then council minutes, procurement PDFs, completion certificates. On Pinecrest Homes, the city funded 160 units. The certificate said 160, but satellite shots and property records said 93. I sat there holding a spoon so tight it bent. The next morning, a cheap little recorder went into my apron pocket. Red light, like a heartbeat. I told myself I was collecting my dignity in pieces, day by day, conversation by conversation. He said on speaker, "You give people a roof and they still complain about the tile." Incredible. He told me, "Smile more." Maya, good customer service, even though neither of us was a customer. I labeled the files so I wouldn't cry. Tile talk, smile, school chair gate. Pride makes bad plans, so I called the one person who ever told me your instincts are your superpower and meant it. My old boss, Priya Desai. Coffee shop meeting me, sliding a folder across the table, her eyebrows climbing like they were trying to leave her face. "This isn't sloppy," she said. "This is deliberate. And if federal dollars touch these, it's a bigger problem. Talk to someone who can do something." I had someone, my cousin Jordan Carter. We hadn't talked in forever. Life is messy like that, but when I laid it out, he said, "Walk me through it." Then said, "Do not text, do not email. Don't even blink unless you have to." I'm looping in oversight and urban integrity, and if it's what it looks like, we meet you on a Monday, he'll never forget. I said I can do Mondays. The days crawled like honey, slow and sticky. Graham called from the marble staircase, "Maya, come here, I need to explain hierarchy." He really said that. Staff are getting big ideas about raises and schedules. I admire ambition, but I need loyalty. I said I know exactly where I stand. He smiled like a teacher hearing the right answer. I walked away smiling like a woman who knows the right answer isn't always the one you say out loud. Sunday night, my kitchen table looked like a tiny war room. Recorder files labeled printouts stacked a timeline straight enough to make a detective cry from relief. Theo fell asleep with one sock on and one sock off because that's his brand. I kissed his forehead and whispered, "After tomorrow it changes. Maybe it was a prayer, maybe a promise. Monday broke bright and sharp. I was in the mansion by 7:30, same as always. He nodded at me like furniture nods. Investors at 10, coffee at 9:45, and Maya, behave appropriately. The word appropriately did push-ups on my last nerve. Of course, I said, and the way I said it made him actually look at me like he was trying to remember if I'd always had eyes. At 9:43, people walked in. Lowell from Housing Rangel from Urban Integrity, and a tall man who said he was Consultant Adams, which is a fake name, so fake I had to bite my tongue not to laugh. Graham clicked his deck to life graphs, climbing like they were rehearsed to. "We deliver on time, on budget with care," he said, and I swear the chandelier rolled its eyes. Then Adams asked it casual on Pinecrest Public Records, "Show 93 units finished last fall. Your invoice says 160 complete. At that time, can you reconcile that?" Graham smiled wider. "Beautiful liars always do. We phased some of those certificates, quality over quantity. You know how construction is." Rangel wrote interesting phrase, phased certificates. I stepped forward and set a thick folder on the table like it weighed nothing. "He asked for additional documentation," I said to Adams. "Figured you'd want the good stuff." Adams opened it and fanned the pages like a magician who doesn't do tricks. Graham's emails treating budgets like suggestions, a spreadsheet with vendors repeating across shell companies, transfers hopping from project accounts to an LLC that paid for his home renovation, with a name so lazy it hurt. Lowell's pen stopped. Rangel's eyebrows did the Priya thing. "Mr. Whitaker," Adams said, voice changing the weather in the room. "Before we go further, I need to reintroduce myself. I'm Assistant U.S. Attorney Jordan Carter, and this meeting is being documented." Graham stood so fast, the chair scrunched the rug. "You can't come into my house and—" "Sit down, sir," Rangel said, calm like bedrock. "We're here because federal dollars touched your projects. We're here because patterns like this do not happen by accident." I pulled the recorder from my pocket and pressed play. His own voice filled his perfect room. "You give people a roof and they still complain about the tile. Incredible. She knows her place. We can shave costs. Standards are different in certain neighborhoods." Watching his face was like watching a bridge realize it wasn't built right. "You recorded me," he said, "like I had stolen the weather. In my home. You taught me a lot about boundaries," I said. "This is mine." Lowell cleared his throat. "Mr. Whitaker, your right to remain silent begins now. You may want to consider using it." When the cuffs clicked, he tried one more angle. "Think about your future. Maya, you'll never work in this town again." I smiled without humor. "I'm counting on it." Yeah, that happened. News crawled, then sprinted. The city froze payments the feds pulled on threads. A judge signed warrants with a pen that looked tired. Names fell into the light. A councilman with a golf habit. A contractor with a second phone for bad ideas. A banker with the wrong smile. The number people whispered finally got said out loud. $38 million meant for families who had waited so long, they stopped asking at windows that never opened. They asked me to consult while they built the larger case, then asked me to join, and one loud morning, the director slid a badge across a table. "You earned this the hard way." I took it with the hand that used to hold a spray bottle and felt two versions of my life shake hands. Best day still wasn't the badge day. It was a windy afternoon on the south side when we cut a ribbon on townhomes that actually had insulation where insulation belongs. Porch lights that came on when you clapped because someone decided delight matters, Mrs. Benitez held a key like a trophy, and told me her knees didn't hurt on the stairs anymore. Theo tugged my sleeve. "Mama, this is ours. It's everybody's," I said, and felt my throat double knot. Graham pled, because his lawyer could count and read a jury better than he ever read a map. He wore a try-hard tie to sentencing and never looked at me. I didn't need him to. I needed the money to go where it was supposed to go, and it did. Units got built. Priya texted 6 exclamation points, which is love in her language. Jordan took me to dinner and we argued about cilantro. He says soap, I say sunshine. We're still family. And here's the part people always ask. Was it entrapment, revenge, justice? What line did you cross? I didn't make him say those things or move that money. I recorded my own life so the world would believe me when I said it happened. Survival teaches strategy. Receipts beat speeches. So tell me this. Should I have gone to HR and waited? Should I have walked away and hoped someone else would pick it up? Or should I have burned it down faster? Which answer builds homes for families who were told to be grateful for less? I found the line between silence and noise and learned to speak right there. If this hit a nerve, talk to me. Was I right to record? Where is your line between accountability and a setup? What have you seen behind closed doors that people still pretend isn't real? Drop a comment with your truth. Push back if you think I went too far. Share it if you believe receipts matter. Like the video, subscribe for more stories told from inside rooms where someone thought you didn't matter. And you did. You know what I mean.